What is going on YouTube? It's your boy Dan, aka aDrive. I'm bringing you guys another episode of our Road to Masterball series where I climb the online VGC ladder and ultimately try to get to the Masterball tier. I'm going to be featuring my Dallas, Texas regional team, which is, you can see it on the screen here, and there's the code for you guys to try out. I did post this in my regional vlog, and I also posted this on Twitter, so you guys may have tried it before, and my understanding is a lot of people are using this team on the ladder now, which is super cool. But I wanted to take this episode to kind of break down the team a little bit more in depth and then kind of show it off in a couple battles, because I kept this team a secret preparing for Dallas, Texas regionals. In the meantime, you got to bear with me. Obviously, I'm losing my voice, but I appreciate the support on these videos. I'm doing my best here to try to hang through this kind of brutal cold that I've been dealing with for like a week. But either way, so this team is really cool, man. It's got a Charizard, which is, by the way, the whole team's shiny too as well, so enjoy using that. I did work very hard to get all these shinies, but it really features Charizard with solar power. That's going to be your main kind of focus, is using Charizard to hit really hard with sun setup. It can set up the own sun, but generally it's better and it hits harder if TORKOAL sets up the sun for it. It can boost its speed with max airstream, and it's a really good partner with Butterfree, which can spread sleep around and redirect attacks aimed at Charizard. It also has Pollen Puff, which can heal its allies really nicely, and Focus Sash to live those hits. TORKOAL, like I said, primarily sets up the sun for Charizard, but also functions in a secondary mode that this team offers, which is Trick Room. You can see the Oranguru there with Trick Room, Instruct, Foul Play, and Protect, and that's rocking the Mental Herb and the Inner Focus. So the Oranguru cannot be flinched and it cannot be taunted, which allows you to guarantee that Trick Room pretty much almost all the time, especially when paired with Butterfree. So there's a couple modes this team features: Charizard, Butterfree, Oranguru, Butterfree, and then Charizard Duraludon is actually another kind of combo I use. The Mudsdale is there primarily for sand teams. Excadrill, Tyranitar, very anti-sand, which is very nice, very bulky. I've got the Lumberry there so you can kind of shake off those Will-O-Wisps. And then Duraludon is a very, very bulky but still relatively fast Duraludon with Assault Vest. It's incredibly hard with Flash Cannon. Draco Meteor, Thunderbolt is there for Gyarados, and then it's got the Tech Solar Beam, which is really nice to utilize in Sun with TORKOAL. So really cool team. I'm really proud of this team. I think if I was a little bit better of a player, I probably could have top cut with this team. So I think the team had so much potential, but I've decided to move forward from the team after this episode and kind of try some different stuff out. So if you guys want to try it, by all means, I actually encourage you guys to give it a shot. I think it's a lot of fun to give it a go. So let's do it, man. Normally I do these episodes online, but I'm really sick right now, like I said, and I kind of just wanted to get an episode for you guys and take a little bit of time to explain how the team works without any sort of distractions or anything like that, and give you guys a true kind of feel for how the team functions. But like I said, the three primary leads are the you've got your your Butterfree Charizard, Butterfree Oranguru if you want to go Trick Room, and then you can often run Charizard Duraludon if you see like opposing Dragapults and things like that. So let's see what we're gonna run into. I think it'd be super funny if we ran into our own team, but this team is probably not going to be as effective because now it's like throughout the ladder. But this guy's running a very common team that features a Whimsicott that sets up the sun for it to allow the Charizard to do work. Against opposing Charizard teams, we have to always bring Mudsdale, and we also have to always bring Duraludon because we're facing a Gyarados team. So because of those variations there, I actually think that bringing Trick Room is a pretty solid option. So what I'm going to do in this matchup is I'm going to definitely bring Trick Room. I think we're going to bring Butterfree Oranguru, and then I think we're going to bring Duraludon Mudsdale, I think is our best bet. So a lot of this team is just understanding the matchups and knowing how to beat the various things that are good against you. I hate to not bring TORKOAL in this matchup. We do actually struggle against our opposing Duraludon if I do this, but I think I can beat it with my own Duraludon. So we'll just have to be pretty mindful of how we make our moves, but I think we can make that work. I do kind of like TORKOAL, but I don't think it's got enough offensive output. So I'm going to stick to the Butterfree lead, and we're going to try to get up Trick Room against this opposing team here. But this is a very scary team. My team really struggles against opposing Charizards first and foremost, and on the ladder, you can actually run Gigantamax Charizard. Mine is regular, because to run Solar Power, you have to have regular Charizard. But the other thing is this team, you have to basically utilize the Duraludon to beat the Gyarados, but you have to utilize the Mudsdale to beat opposing Charizards because you need that rock power. So it's a pretty interesting matchup. This is actually a really tough game for us in this team. But what I learned with this team is you can pretty much beat any archetype, especially at a best 2 out of 3. But we're going to see Duraludon Gyarados actually as the lead, so a little surprising to see that. Butterfree Oranguru is a pretty solid lead option for us because we can generally set Trick Room pretty easily here. So what I'm going to do is that's an Intimidate Gyarados, which tells me that it's not the Moxie set, which is good to know. The Duraludon is probably the biggest threat here, and generally Butterfree does outspeed Duraludons, so I'm actually going to sleep powder the Duraludon, and I'm just going to Trick Room. Now, there is a chance the Duraludon is faster. It gets to max here and goes for a max darkness into my Oranguru, and then a double attack into Oranguru knocks it out. I'm going to take the chance that my opponent's not going to do that right now. It's a bit of a risk, but I'm willing to take that risk. My opponent's actually going to go for the taunt into the Butterfree with the Gyarados, so something I did not expect under any circumstances. I actually have yet to see a super fast Gyarados, and he's actually going to go for the Dragon Tail, hit it, and stop our Trick Room. So really bad turn for us there. In fact, probably about the worst turn we could have had. We're going to go into Mudsdale, which is not what we want to have on the field right now. So this is very bad positioning for us. We're going to have to just go straight out into Duraludon here on the Butterfree slot because we're stuck. And I have Mudsdale on the field, but it's not a really good positioning for Mudsdale because we're just going to get blown back by a max water move here, I'm assuming. But I think I'm just going to go for a Protect right now on the Mudsdale slot because I really think that the best way we're going to win this game is I need to max my own Duraludon to try to have any chance in this matchup. So this is not looking good. My opponent running a very interesting team with the Dragon Tail Duraludon, which is something that I've seen before. It's not like I've never come across that. But the Taunt Gyarados plus the Dragon Tailing Duraludon, not something I've seen. So the proper play that I needed to do there is actually Rage Powder the Butterfree. However, I did not anticipate that combination of attacks. So this is kind of a funny first turn for us, but we'll get the Protect off. It doesn't seem like my opponent's going to max here, so maybe we'll get lucky and they just kind of target the Mudsdale slot. But here comes the Waterfall into the Mudsdale slot, and then this Butterfree might take some damage here. It's going to be a Draco Meteor, but my opponent did double our Mudsdale, so that actually kind of works out in our favor that we're able to kind of work around that. So now I'm going to go over the Max Lightning because I need to get rid of this Gyarados. It's our biggest threat to our Mudsdale, and I'm actually going to probably switch back out into Butterfree here. Because if I can start spreading some sleep around, that could be really effective. So let's get our Butterfree, and I know I'm free to live one hit, and Mudsdale needs to be in the back because we need that for Charizard and the Excadrill later on. So hopefully we can get some big hits off here. As I mentioned, my Duraludon is really fast, but because that Gyarados is definitely running Jolly Nature Gyarados, I know the Gyarados is going to be faster than my Duraludon here. So since I'm the only one maxing though, this Max Lightning should be able to put in some work. And keep in mind, with Max Lightning, I'm going to set up the Electric Terrain, and I'm not able to put anything to sleep again. So Butterfree's usefulness now is simply as a redirector, but I realized that was probably my best play at this point. So here comes the Waterfall into Butterfree. We are a max HP Butterfree, so we can take some hits. We're going to get this Lightning off. This might be Assault Vest Gyarados, though. I'm just kidding. It had Taunt, so we're going to just one-shot the Gyarados, and that's a really good use of our first max turn. If my opponent goes for a Draco Meteor into the Butterfree, it's really not even the end of the world, because then I can start to set up Trick Room on the following turn, so I'm not even really worried if the Butterfree goes down here. But let's see what my opponent's going to do. Here comes a Draco, and it is going to be aimed at the Butterfree slot, so we lose our Butterfree, but my opponent really was trying to get rid of the Mudsdale there, and we actually put ourselves in an okay positioning despite a really, really rough first turn, because now they're sitting there with a negative special attack Duraludon that's really not a huge threat to me, and I can go into Oranguru now, which can potentially put some Trick Room pressure on, and at the very least take the pressure off of the Duraludon. I don't want to go into Mudsdale here, even though Mudsdale has a decent situation to be in. I'm really concerned about this Charizard, so I want to make sure that I can get my Trick Room up so that way Mudsdale can deal with it in the back. So I'm assuming Charizard's coming out in the field here. It's actually going to be Excadrill, so that's fine. Excadrill is very difficult for me to deal with what I have on the field right now, but I can target down the Duraludon right now and try to weaken that thing. Even though I think it is Assault Vest, a Max Wormwind into the Duraludon is a really good play here, and we're just going to Trick Room. And I think my opponent is going to have to go for something like a Max Steel Spike or a Max Quake into my Oranguru slot here to try to stop Trick Room. They may just go for the Dragon Tail, but that's where I'm going to go for this Max Wormwind into it. And even though it's Assault Vest, I think we can potentially still pick up a KO here. It just depends on his spread. So I'll have to see what kind of set this Duraludon's running. But my opponent is indeed going to go for the max here with this Excadrill. And they're definitely not going to max the Duraludon. They may be able to get another Dragon Tail off into my Oranguru, which would be really unfortunate if they can. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Max Quake here from the Drill going into the Duraludon or into the Oranguru slot. So this will be a pretty interesting turn here. I need him to not get a Dragon Tail off though. But here comes the Max Quake. That is actually going to definitely allow my opponent to live the hit. And he's going to go right into the Duraludon here and actually almost pick up a KO. So big damage there. The good news is we will be able to get an attack drop right now off that Excadrill to kind of weaken it. But I need to pick up a KO or have him miss his Dragon Tail, because if I can't get Trick Room up here, we're definitely going to lose this game. So there's some damage off. That's not going to do nearly enough. And if he Dragon Tails my Guru, then I'm not getting Trick Room up here, and I'm going to be in a very bad spot. So let's see what he's going to do. I'm assuming that's what he's going to go for. He goes for the Dragon Tail. He does get the Dragon Tail again, so quite an annoying situation for us. We'll get our Mudsdale on the field, and what I'll have to do here is just try to keep my Mudsdale standing strong because some of these Pokemon are really, really powerful. I'm going to go with the Max Wormwind into the Duraludon slot, and I am going to go for probably the high horsepower, I think, also into the Duraludon slot. Although the Duraludon's not really a threat to me right now, so maybe I just high horsepower the Excadrill. The Excadrill is going to hit me absurdly hard, but he has to prioritize the Duraludon to get rid of it, so I'm not really, like, he can't Dragon Tail me again, so once Duraludon goes down. So he's actually going to switch out his Duraludon and save that for later. Kind of a smart play. And he's going to go out into the Dragapult. So the Dragapult's going to come out here. Here comes the Max Quake. This is definitely going to pick up the KO on my Duraludon, unfortunately, even at -1 attack. But I will be able to get off a Max Quake here, or high horsepower into the Excadrill slot. And we're going to have to try to pull this back with a Oranguru now. And it's going to be very difficult to do because he can just double the Oranguru slot. So I'm going to have to figure this one out. I may have to protect Oranguru actually on this first turn. But let's see how much this high horsepower does. Big damage there to the Excadrill, which is very nice. And we're going to go out to Oranguru here. Now my assumption, if I'm my opponent here, I'm doubling Oranguru because you really cannot allow this thing to set up. I'm going to go for a protect here with the Oranguru because as much as I want Trick Room, I just think that I have to, I don't know, do I, yeah, I think I have to protect because I need to be able to live the double target here and I need to be able to knock out the Excadrill or at the very least body press into, or high horsepower into the Dragapult for big damage. That way, so on the following turn I can instruct, or Trick Room rather. So let's try that. Yeah, I'm going to try to get rid of him because I actually don't want the Duraludon on the field right now. I'd rather hit the Dragapult. So the Excadrill, like I said, isn't a huge issue right now. It's -1, so it is what it is. Here comes the Draco Meteor. He actually targets the Mudsdale, so interesting plays there. I could have actually gotten Trick Room up and potentially won this game, but if he doubles Mudsdale, then never mind, so we'll see. This is a really tough matchup for us, and I needed to get Trick Room up, and I wasn't able to do that because my opponent had a really cool team with the Dragon Tail. So let's see, he's going to Max Steel Spike into the Mudsdale. So I just got read like a book then on that final turn. Okay, I needed to protect Mudsdale and Trick Room Oranguru. And actually, if I did that, I think we could have won the game. So hindsight 2020, man. My opponent made a really good read there and focused down the right target, so it didn't really work out for us. But now I'm left with an Oranguru, and we'll just forfeit this one. This is an example of my opponent just really beating us from, well, it was a very winnable game at the end there. That was a tough play. I thought he was going to double down the Oranguru, but instead he made a really good read and doubled down my Mudsdale. So you kind of live and learn from those ones. But that first turn really threw us off. Like I wasn't able to sleep the Duraludon because his Gyarados was super fast Gyarados, which is not something I've seen a ton of. And I wasn't able to set up Trick Room because he Dragon Tailed me in both instances. So just kind of some really unfortunate situations there that led to us taking it out. I'm really confused as to why it's taking so long to run here. I chose to run, so I'm not really sure why it's taking so long. I just want to kind of get another game at this point. There we go. So my opponent's going to pick up a W. Well played to my opponent and well prepped. That's a situation of where a best of 3 really comes into play because on that first turn, had I Rage Powdered, knowing that he had Taunt Gyarados, which by the way, I like have barely seen, had I Rage Powdered, then he would have doubled into my Butterfree. He would have had to Dragon Tail the Butterfree, and he would have had to taunt the Butterfree at that point, and Rage Powder would have went first. The Oranguru would have been free to set up Trick Room. The Butterfree would have switched out, and then I would have actually had Duraludon on the field with Oranguru, and I could have started firing off some Max Lightning Bolts. But here's an interesting team that features a bulldozing Bronzong and Rhyperior, as well as Butterfree, Gastrodon, and Darmanitan. And Darmanitan is actually very scary for my team. I really need to try to prioritize getting up Trick Room if I can. So, because it can have Scarf Rock Slide and stuff like that, which can be a bit annoying. I really like having, let me think about this. I actually think kind of just Charizard could be really strong here. If I can kind of take down the Duraludon, or I'm sorry, the Darmanitan. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring Charizard in this situation, and I'm going to bring Duraludon as a way to kind of deal with the Darmanitan, and then I'm going to bring Torkoal and Oranguru. I don't actually want Oranguru. I want Torkoal, and I want maybe Butterfree actually would be pretty solid here. I guess I just spread sleeps around. I like Mudsdale too because it slows down the Rhyperior. I'm gonna go Mudsdale, I think. I'm gonna allow my opponent to try to set Trick Room, and hopefully I can end up in a situation where I don't have to see that Darmanitan on turn 1. Because I can deal with the Butterfree as long as it's not Choice Scarf. So it's funny, like I've played this team so extensively, and now on this episode I'm facing 2 teams that are like actually really good against me, but that's okay. You gotta just kind of go with the flow. So let's see. My opponent's gonna send out, what do we got here? It's gonna be Butterfree Darmanitan. Okay, so that's a really scary lead for us. So what I need to do here is, I actually need to max guard my Charizard. I think is probably my best play. And yeah, this is a really tough lead for us. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna max guard Charizard, and then I'm gonna actually flash cannon into the Darmanitan. The thing is, he could just Rock Slide Sleep Powder, and if he does that, then I'm in a pretty bad spot. But there's not a ton I can do to get around that because of how strong Choice Scarf Darmanitan is. And it might not even be Scarf. Like, I might just be able to click Heat Wave here and blow both Pokemon back, but that's not a risk that I can really take in this situation because of how scary Darmanitan is. And actually, in the regional, I had a match where I battled a Scarf Darmanitan, and game 1 blew me back, and then game 2, I blew it back. So that was the good news there. But I have a bad feeling that we're gonna get Rock Slide, and then we're gonna get put to sleep on the Duraludon slot here, and that's not gonna be a good turn for us. But let's see how this plays out. Here comes the Sleep Powder, and it is into the Duraludon slot, so not the ideal situation for us. And that's gonna put us in, like I said, an absolutely kind of dreadful positioning. I wasted my first turn because I didn't want to take damage there. Now I'm in a situation where I have to attack. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to Max Flare into the Darmanitan on the off chance we can live the hit. And I'll go for a Flash Cannon in case we wake up and I get knocked on the Rock Slide here. I really could use a Rock Slide miss. It's going to hit, and this is going to do a lot of damage. We actually do live it, though, which is the good news. So maybe the first turn I should have just went for the Max Flare. But normally, the problem with this calc is you lose to, whatchamacallit, you lose to the Sun and the Life Orb, so I'm dead here anyway. Like, that's why I max guarded on turn 1 and hope that my opponent maybe made a misplay, because I'm dying here on this calc anyway, which is not a good situation to be in, as you can probably imagine. And my opponent's able to actually utilize sleep, very effective here. And I'm still sleeping, of course, with Duraludon. So this is going to be one of those episodes where I'm just going to get wrecked in 2 episodes or 2 battles and try to showcase this team. But you know what? I think the only way to go out with this team is to have it go poorly, right? So I think that's what's going to happen here. It's going to kind of go down in a bad situation. I'm going to go out and Torkoal, though, in case my opponent tries to go with Trick Room here with Dusclops. But my opponent has a really good strategy there with the Darmanitan, and like I said, this team has lost its surprise factor. It's been on the ladder a lot as of lately, so because of that, it's kind of not nearly as good. So I'm actually going to try to wake up with my Duraludon and go for the Protect here, maybe try to get a cheeky Solar Beam off on this Gastrodon and pull some of this game back. If I can do that, then I can maybe navigate the sleep, but this just shows how powerful the he's actually just going to max Geyser, so we definitely are going to lose this game. So well played by my opponent again. This is an offensive Gastrodon, I believe, with Life Orb. So not exactly how I wanted things to go, guys, but I at least got to show you a little bit about how the team is going to work. But I think he just max Geysers here if he's smart. Or goes to the Max Quake into the Duraludon slot. But either way, like, this just shows how powerful Butterfree is, even though it's on the opposing Butterfree. If you don't have something for it, it just sleeps everything. So I'm going to be sleeping again, so I don't even get to fire off the Solar Beam, which is unfortunate. Here comes the Max Quake, and this is, I think, like I said, offensive. So this is going to do a lot of damage to us, even with the Assault Vest. He just straight up knocks us out. So we just get obliterated in 2 games in a row, and I'm going to show it because that's part of the road to Master Rank, man. That's just kind of part of the deal. I'm not going to just, like, not show these battles just because I lose. I think as a content creator, it'd be really easy for me to just be like, oh, well, I lost, like, let me just re-record it. But no, I don't think that that's a good way to approach this series. I'd rather show you guys the good and the bad. And it's unfortunate that, like, the team that I'm using right now just kind of gets blown back. But, you know, I'll Solar Beam and we'll Rock Slide here. But all he has to do is just Sleep Powder, and there's not a whole lot I can do about that. So kind of an unfortunate, like I said, couple rounds there. But I think the takeaway here is my opponent, in game 1, my opponent had, like, something really crazy. Like, you know, you just don't expect to see kind of Taunt Gyarados plus Dragon Tail. I have actually the Lumberry here, which is cool. Kind of forgot about that, but that wasn't going to make a difference because he's going to just max Geyser. Then my Solar Beam's going to not work on the first turn anyway. TORKOAL's going to get blown back here. It's going to live, but the Solar Beam's not going to do anything. So that's going to put us in a really bad spot. And I'll just take the 2 L's on this one, man. But hopefully you guys have some fun using the team. Like I said, I think the big things you got to do here is you really want to try to utilize the Butterfree leads with Charizard, Butterfree, and Oranguru, and then Charizard and Duraludon I find to be kind of the best approaches there in terms of how to use this team. But now that it's all over the ladder, because a lot of you guys have been using it, it's definitely lost some of its surprise factor. But have fun with it nevertheless. I think it's cool. You get to use my my shinies that I hunted so hard for. And we're going to get back into the road to master rank. I told myself I was going to take like a week off of competitive, so expect to see more stuff next week. In terms of us kind of jumping back into things and preparing for the next regional and stuff like that. So thank you guys again for bearing with me. Sorry again, I don't have much of a voice. I've been sick for like a week and just honestly not feeling super great. So thank you guys for watching this episode of our Road to Master Rank series where I got absolutely mollywopped. But that's it, man. You're just going to take those L's and move on. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Butterfree, go!